Firstly, I just want to say thank you to the team for the invitation. I'm always excited to be part of the entrepreneurship movement. As you guys know, that in South Africa, unemployment rate is at its all-time high, and so stimulating and encouraging entrepreneurship is the key of really getting this country out of the dark box. So just by way of introduction, my name is TUMI PHAKE. Obviously my full name is Itumeleng, but I'm known as TUMI PHAKE. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Zenzele Fitness. We've been in business for 6 years now. We're actually operating 18 branches around South Africa. And just to explain a bit of our model and obviously sharing a bit of my background. So before I became an entrepreneur, I went to school and I studied finance. I worked in corporate. I was an investment banker. But I was really frustrated because I knew that my calling was in entrepreneurship. However, I was grateful for the lessons that I've learned in corporate. Things like writing a proper email. There are some simple things like writing a proper email that people will take you seriously. And I think that if I wasn't in corporate, some of those soft skills I wouldn't have learned to actually build a business that I have. And for all the young people who probably want to pursue entrepreneurship, I think working for someone first and getting the experience is very important. Rather than just jumping and starting your own thing, because there are little things that can either make you or break you as a business person. To cut my story, I was born in Katlehong. I grew up in Tembisa. I was brought up by my grandmother. My grandmother was also an entrepreneur. She had no formal education. I think she had a standard 3, but my grandmother was a hustler. She took care of us, the grandchildren. There was probably 20 of us in the household, and not a single night did I go without having food in my stomach. And my grandmother really installed, building something, because I learned that from her, that she had no education, but she was still able to run 3 successful businesses. She had a butcher, a supermarket, and a bottle store. And in those times, in the 80s, being a black African woman trying to run the business by herself, you can imagine how difficult it was, but she was able to do it. And so, and that's where I learned the entrepreneurship thing. However, the one thing that really became interesting in my life, that really changed my life, was reading. So I love reading. I love reading books. I love reading books on business. So when I finished high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was an avid sports person. I loved Richard Branson, the Virgin Active story, how Virgin Active came to South Africa. But I was also disturbed by the fact that Virgin Active is not a South African business. Virgin Active is a European business, and it's dominating every corner of the northern suburbs and all the high-end places. And so growing up in the township, realizing that as black people, we don't really have access to nice facilities. Most of the time, the gyms that we could use are backroom gyms and stuff. And so that is when my curiosity started, where I read on Richard Branson, and I thought, wow, this is something that I would love to do. I like finance, I like sports. And so I was thinking, how can I combine my passion of finance and sports to actually start a business? And so the closest thing to me was the fitness industry. And my curiosity just started. So while I was working in the bookstore, I didn't know what to study. And then it happened that I was in charge of the business section. So I started reading a lot of business books. I probably read close to 120, 50 books. And I think that really changed my life, because I didn't have an opportunity to have a mentor. But by reading, I was actually able to learn from other people's experiences of how they started their businesses, what the challenges that they were facing, and only to realize that these people that we read about are exactly like us. There's no difference, but the only thing, the common trait that I've learned from all these great people is that they were not afraid to fail. And the only thing that keeps you from getting what you want is being able to take failure and jump back again. And a lot of times we are afraid to fail because the world doesn't necessarily embrace failure. You know, mau failure, everyone is just like, you're a loser, you're not smart enough, you're not ready, you're too young, whatever, the naysayers. And so reading those books, I realized that these people, the only thing, it's not because they were smart, it's just they could persevere over and over and over and over and over until they get a breakthrough. And that is what entrepreneurship is about. Entrepreneurship is not a, one size fits all that overnight you become a multimillionaire. It takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of perseverance, punishment, humbling yourself, learning, and eventually becoming what you're supposed to be. And so throughout my journey, then I started reading books, and that's when I was interested in finance. And I said, you know what, I want to actually pursue a degree in finance. And so I pursued the degree. I wanted initially to be a chartered accountant, but accounting was just too hard and too boring. So eventually I thought, look, I'll just do a finance degree and I'll get into investment banking, which I did, and I worked there for 7 years. And so working there, I was driven by money. I only became a banker because I thought working in a bank, you'll actually make a lot of money. But it's actually quite the opposite. There is no money. You just look at the transaction, but the money is not yours at all. And so, I was very frustrated, and the whole thing of reading about Richard Branson and his journey and how they built the Virgin Group, Virgin Active, etc., I was really drawn to it and interested. And so it took me a couple of years to really formalize and to say, what does TUMI actually want to do? How can I make myself valuable in the space where there's already existing health clubs like a Virgin Active and a Platinum Fitness? How can I stand out from those guys, who built multi-billion businesses, and I'm still a guy who doesn't even have experience? And so what made me unique about my business is that I stumbled upon an opportunity to say, I actually want to build gyms in companies. And the reason why I want to build gyms in companies is because there's a captive market in the business. And so I'll be able to cater for people that work in a specific company. And so I started putting the business plan together. I was fortunate enough that my first funding, I was able to close a deal of 5 million rand. I had no business experience. I had no business, but I stood there and I pitched my business. And within 10 minutes, these guys said, we like you, the person that you are. We believe in you, that you can take this dream and make it into something. And so they gave me 5 million rand and said, dude, start your business. And I was like, what am I going to do with 5 million rands? And obviously working in a bank, I don't want to miss someone's money. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'll work and then do my business part-time. And the guy said, look, if you want to be successful, you can't have your one foot in and the other foot out. You have to go all in. And so I remember the day that I resigned, and some people thought I was crazy. They were actually like, so TUMI, you leaving your banking job, you'll call my gym. Like, you'll call my gym. And I'm like, yeah. And I just remember thinking, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. But I have to say it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. Because today Zenzele is a multi-million business. We're employing over 120 people, and we are scaling and we're growing. And so, the first 6-10 months or a year, I couldn't sleep. I had sleepless nights. The business wasn't making any profit. People were saying, I don't have experience, who are you? And I was pitching in every company to try and tell them about this vision and this business. You know, I remember the first year I pitched to Discovery Health, the medical aid, and I said, look, I have this idea. I want to build these gym facilities and companies. And one of the CEOs of Discovery said to me, come and speak to me in 4 years' time. And guess what I did? I spoke to him after 4 years, and Discovery today is my client. And that is a story of perseverance, because even when I came to him and I said, do you remember me? And he said, no. And I said, well, I remember you, and now you're my client. And so things don't happen overnight, but you have to push, you have to craft your art. You have to spend so many hours until you become a master of what you are at. And I believe right now that we are a business that's really niche. You know, we're penetrating in the corporate space. Some of my clients, to name a few, it's APSA, BMW, Liberty Life, Anglo-American, De Beers, Wits University. Actually, there's quite a lot. I'm even forgetting some of my clients. Weber Wenzel, Hollard Insurance, British American Tobacco, SAB, and those are all my clients. And these are the people that, you know, they told me I didn't have what it takes, but I kept knocking on doors, and now everyone wants to work with Zenzele. And so what I want to encourage today is that, you know, the biggest lesson I've learned about entrepreneurship is that don't start a business because you're trying to chase money. If your one single goal is to become rich, to drive a fancy car, or to prove to someone, then you're not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is about solving a problem. It's about solving a problem and identifying a need that customers will actually and are willing to buy your product. And that is the basis of what entrepreneurship is. And so if you are in a place where you're saying, I've identified a problem and I have willing buyers to purchase the product, then you're halfway of being an entrepreneurship. And so by servicing your customer, then the money comes. But if you are chasing the money, but you're not servicing your customer, you're going to lose both. And so the focus should always be, how do I solve a problem to the customer? How do I make sure that I have consumers who are willing to purchase my product and not be driven by making money? You know, it's like the Bible. The Bible says, seek God's kingdom and all else will follow. Well, with entrepreneurship, seek your customers and all the money will follow. And that's what I want to leave today, to say that, you know, I'm very excited to be part of this platform because one of the biggest things in South Africa is that the government is not going to create enough jobs. The corporate sectors is not going to create enough jobs because there aren't enough jobs. But the people that are going to stimulate this economy is the small, medium-sized businesses. So I encourage you to find a problem. We have a lot of problems in this country, in the townships. There's a lot of things that we can solve. And so for you to become an entrepreneurship is to understand, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve, and do I have willing people that are willing to buy in order for me to solve their problems? You know, one of the things is that I often find people every day who are saying, I've got a business idea, I've got this business, I think it's going to work. And I often say to them is that having a business is great. Having a business idea is beautiful. But what determines you from a business idea is having the ability to execute the idea. Execution, execution, execution. Your success is determined by how quickly you can execute something. Because you can talk and talk about your dreams, but if you cannot execute it, then it's just a pipe dream. And a lot of times, the second thing with entrepreneurs is that we want to do everything ourselves. It is impossible to do everything yourself. Don't get caught in saying, I want to be 100% shareholder in my business. Me, my business. It's we, team. Find smart people to work with you, and that is how you will be successful. You are not going to be able to be successful by yourself. And that is why we are here today, because life is about people, community, collectivity, and that is how you become successful. And so those are some of the things that I've learned, is that the people I work with are smarter than me, they know better than me, they're more experienced than me, and they make me successful because of them. They are behind the scenes, but they make me successful. And that is why you always have to find those people in your life. You know, my mother, my partner is a big support structure of my life. When I have problems, I speak to them. You don't see them, but they are the people that encourage me and to succeed. And that is also what it is, that when you're trying to build a business, find people that you can work with, and find people who are smarter than you, who will take you to the next level. You know, there's a saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. Think about it. You are the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. If you look at your life, look at the people you spend your time with. Be selfish with your time. Spend time with people that add value to your life. Not people who are naysayers, who are negative, and who are not going anywhere. Unfortunately, this life is too short for you to be busy sitting with people and just talking about problems. And one of the ways of success is that I'm very selfish with my time, and I spend time with people that when I walk away, I'm like, yo, wow, I've learned so much from that person. And that means I'm getting something from this person. And so entrepreneurship, you need to surround yourself with those people. And that's how you become successful. Thank you so much. I don't want to talk too much, but I hope that I've said some words of encouragement. And yeah, let's push entrepreneurship. Thanks, guys.